So the world's a dangerous place. It really is. We need a really fine military, and intelligence is the key. I mean, it is not sufficient to say, well, you bombed the trade tower, we're going to find you. What you need to do is, wherever possible, and it's not possible to be perfect in this, you need to be able to interdict and stop that from occurring, to disrupt it, and to keep the people who are enemies of the state off balance. I just feel strongly that that's so. There are requirements to put military on the ground and execute military activities, and so I think it would be a tragedy of monumental proportions. I've tried not to be just a carper on this, but I got to tell you, to allow the Kurds to fall, to allow the Iraqi government that was stable in 2011, because we are just inflexibly committed not to even have embedded soldiers on the ground with the Iraqi forces, to me, is just unthinkable. We've lost 3,000 plus people fighting the war on terrorism. We left that country in a position for it to be successful. Had we maintained the presence, let's say, of a few hundred in Mosul, Mosul wouldn't have fallen, in my opinion. And it's a disaster that that's happened.
For me, I have two primary responsibilities. As the commander of the United States Cyber Command, we have three missions. We defend the Department of Defense's networks. I'm responsible for generating and then employing the cyber force that the Department of Defense is creating. And then thirdly, if directed by the President or the Secretary of Defense, we are tasked to provide support in defense of critical U.S. infrastructure. What does that mean? The federal government has designated 16 areas in the private sector. Think about water, power, transportation, aviation, financial. The federal government has designated 16 areas as critical to the nation's security within infrastructure in the United States. And from a cyber perspective, we're tasked to be ready to defend it if directed. As the director of NSA, two primary missions. One gets a lot of attention, our foreign intelligence mission, where we use our signals intelligence abilities, studying opponent communications and their electronic systems, to gain insights as to what nation states, groups, and individuals are doing. The second mission at NSA, the one that does not get much attention, but I think is very critical for the future in the nation for us, is we have an information assurance mission where we are tasked to use this amazing technical capability we have to help defend both the Department of Defense as well as U.S. government computer systems, and when requested by other elements in the federal government, normally the FBI or the Department of Homeland Security, we also provide that capability to support other areas outside the government. And the capabilities we have in the cyber defense arena are really, really amazing. Now, having said that, this is a huge challenge for all of us. I would argue that cyber is something that will be foundational to the lives of every single person in this room for as long as you're going to be here. If we compromise who and what we are as a nation in the name of security or defense, then the other guy has won. If we have to become something fundamentally we are not, then they have beaten us. So I don't believe it's either or. I don't think we have to compromise our rights or compromise our very fundamental foundation as a nation to achieve security. But the flip side is also true, I would argue. We have to acknowledge that we live in a world of risk, where there are nation states, groups, and individuals who, if they had their way, particularly some of the groups that you see out there, if they had their way, we would no longer exist as an individual, as a nation. And as individuals, if we failed to adhere to their view of the world, we would be dead. We take that for granted in the United States because of the institutions we've been able to create. We don't ever have to deal with something like that, and thank God for that. But don't think for 1 minute that there aren't men and women who, if they had their way out there, none of us would be here today. You look at what is going on with ISIL in Iraq, and you see them not only beheading Westerners, but fellow Muslims, Iraqi citizens. You see them taking women into custody, selling women to fighters, giving women to fighters, killing lawyers, teachers, officials of government, clergy leaders. Why? Because they're a threat to their vision of the world. And don't think for 1 minute they aren't interested in doing harm to us. So it's about finding that balance, not either or. You gotta find the balance. And the challenge for me, and I'll conclude with, as a director of the National Security Agency, I need to help to be transparent as we try to strike that balance. And that's one of my challenges as a new guy. I've been the director now for 6 months. It's one of the reasons why I'm here with you today, because I'm constantly telling our team, we have got to talk to the American people about what we do and why we do it, and what we don't do. Because quite frankly, much of what I've listened to the last 15 months is flat out wrong.
After 9/11, we did the Patriot Act. Chairman of the committee, Senator Leahy, Judiciary Committee, and I think all of that time, is very libertarian. So we worked and worked and worked, and every word was argued over and passed the Patriot Act. And in many ways, all it did was to allow, in national security cases, law enforcement to do that which they have done since time immemorial in normal criminal cases. For example, your telephone toll records have never required a court order. For the Drug Enforcement Administration can issue an administrative subpoena to the telephone company to get your toll records. Well, they're not your, you don't have possession of them. They're in possession of everybody at the phone company. You have a diminished expectation of privacy, and they can't do an administrative subpoena to what's in your desk at home, your safety deposit box, the glove compartment or trunk of your car. They can't do that because that's where you have control of your home. Everything in your home has got to have a search warrant. But this whole confused mess, like you got to have a search warrant to get somebody's toll records or phone records, is just not so. Well, that was a big confusion to me. And I found that over and over and over again as to how that happened. So, well, I won't go into the details, but everything that went into the Patriot Act, in my opinion, well, we balance it. So we're going to restrict constitutional rights. I never saw it that way, and I said that many times. I say that what powers we gave to the federal government, the NSA, to conduct surveillance and court oversight that was created in that mechanism, and all the rules and regulations that were established as part of it, every bit of that was consistent with traditional criminal law. And so I don't think we have an erosion of our rights and liberties. And people are forgetting the danger, and we're seeing a resurgence of misinformation in a lot of instances. So yes, we want to protect your rights to your privacy. We're not getting telephone call messages. They're not able to access the words of your telephone calls without a proper step. But all we're talking about is phone numbers. So if a terrorist is making a bunch of phone numbers, calls, if they make a call from Syria to Italy, we can get it. If they make a phone call from Syria to Boston, I'd like to know. Wouldn't bother me to see the number. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so this is all you're seeing. You see numbers, and I think there'll be instances and have been instances in which lots of lives have been saved as a result of that.